districts, leaving those who live on the streets to stand out. Some hospitals use inpatient psychiatric beds for COVID patients. Many libraries and other places where homeless people typically spend their days closed. The city is accelerating its efforts to move homeless people off the Manhattan streets, and I hope Bronx is Brooklyn and Queens as well. But on Wednesday, Mayor de Blasio said that 8,000 people would be moved from 60 hotels back to group or congregate shelters by the end of July. Starting next week, the police will begin sweeps along 125th Street in Harlem to clear it of homeless people and those using drugs, according to a senior city official who spoke on the condition of anonymity because the plan has not been publicly announced. A spokeswoman for the mayor said that the effort was focused on helping people with substance abuse issues access harm reduction resources, and that offer would be on hand to assist as needed. All right. And next, crime dominates final stretch of New York City. And it does, and it's not just homeless. Honestly, I think that's not the problem. But let's move on. Mayoral race in the test for Democrats. With crime on the rise in New York City, Democratic candidates running for mayor have focused intensely on law and order in a race that has highlighted the challenges the party may have in pushing liberal policies against the backdrop of increasing violence. The dynamic was on full display in the final debate of the race just Wednesday evening, when the 8 remaining primary candidates faced a barrage of questions about public safety and policing issues. The candidate considered the most pro-police in the race, former New York Police Department Officer Eric Adams, has climbed to the front of the pack in the recent polls that have shown the further left candidates, such as civil rights attorney Maya Wiley, trailing the centrist. Public safety and police questions dominated much of Wednesday's debate, exposing further the wide ideological divides that exist within the Democratic Party. If we don't get gun violence under control, it's going to stop our economic recovery, Adams said. He stated that during one of his first answers of the night, trying to publicly safety issue to another problem that is top of mind for New Yorkers. He pledged to expand parts of the police force, such as plainclothes anti-gun unit. Wiley, who has proposed cutting $1 billion from the NYPD budget, argued instead that the police should be asked to do less in the city. We are hiring police officers to do the jobs of social workers, she said. We are hiring police officers to do the job of psychologists. Andrew Young, the former presidential candidate, who was once considered the front runner, began his opening statement by making a plea to protect public safety and by touting an endorsement from a police union. He sparred with Adams during the night, painting himself as the favorite of police despite his opponent's years with the NYPD. But crime in the Big Apple has climbed steadily in the recent months, compounding problems for the city as businesses struggle to attract customers back after the pandemic. Overall crime climbed 22% between May of 2020 and May of this year, with the rate of robberies jumping nearly 47% and the rate of shootings spiking 73% in that time period, and that's according to the NYPD. But crime on the subway system has also sparked concerns, but not every mayoral candidate agreed on how to handle it. Asked at the debate to raise their hands if they would station more police officers on transit systems, Wiley, Comptroller Scott Stringer, and Diane Morales did not budge. All of them have advocated for police reforms that defund or dismantle parts of the police. New York City's mayoral race is not the only city contest being shaped by climbing crime and increasing fears about safety. In Atlanta, rising crime has dominated the mayoral contest in a city that saw widespread protests last summer over the death of George Floyd. Incumbent Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms opted not to run for re-election amid intense criticism of the violence that spread on her watch. And next, we still have in New York City, the council votes on small business relief legislation. After a year that wreaked havoc on New York City small businesses, the council will vote today on 2 bills to help relieve restaurants and mom and pop stores by restructuring the penalty system that hits them with onerous fines. And the first bill would reduce or waive financial penalties for certain sanitation, health, transportation, consumer affairs, noise control, and building violations. The bill will also allow small businesses to often fix a violation before paying a hefty fine. And for certain violations, they'll face no fine on the first offense. So for instance, small business owners had to pay a fee if they didn't properly label garbage bins. The new rules would allow them to correct the mistake instead. The second bill would create an amnesty program that waives interest on penalties imposed by the Environmental Control Board, which eliminates penalties for defaulting and offers significant discounts on base penalties for money paid during the amnesty period if judgment is paid during the established amnesty period. So for judgments issued during the pandemic on or after March 7th of 2020, the person would receive a 75% discount on base penalties and interest would be waived. So for judgments issued before that date, the person would receive a 25% discount and interest would be waived if they paid during the amnesty period. Default penalties would also be waived. This program would be created by the Commissioner of Finance and last 90 days with the option to extend at the order of the Commissioner. All right, that's good news. Small businesses definitely need your help, especially at this time. Next, we have Juilliard students protest rising tuition. Students at the Juilliard School danced and sang along to protest songs on the sidewalk in front of their campus in New York City last week. It may have been looked at an impromptu street performance from a distance, but up closely, passerby could read the demands on the signs that the students held. Actors and musicians all demand you freeze tuition. One sign said, "What's outrageous? Tuition raises," said another. Juilliard students were shocked to learn recently that the tuition at their renowned Performing Arts Conservatory was going up by nearly $2,000 when the Intuition's leaders announced that spring that undergraduate tuition for 21-22 academic year would rise to $51,230 from $49,260. Many students also worried about having to pay more and started calling a tuition freeze. Students are really pushing for this cause because it matters to them a lot, especially during COVID when $2,000 could mean 2 months of rent in New York City, or it could mean several months of groceries, said Sarah Ma. That is a freshman music student at Juilliard Administrators. And administrators have responded to the protest by pointing to a growing pool of financial aid dollars that would be available for students to offset the 4% tuition bump. Juilliard's teaching, coaching, and performance opportunities are unmatched, and great care is taken to offer this education at the lowest possible cost, a Juilliard spokesperson stated. Protests and demonstrations about any number of issues thrive on many colleges and university campuses, which are often hotbeds for political and social activism. The same is not true for Juilliard, Ma said. The arts have always been historically connected with protests. Art has always been inherently political, she stated. However, when you get to very exclusive conservatory level arts like Juilliard and other arts conservatories, that is really rarely seen. Juilliard has seldom seen any student organizing for demand. Ma can recall a few protests on the campus. But one of the most notable protests on campus occurred long ago in 1940 when students rallied around Howard Lanford, a professor at Juilliard who was dismissed over salary and tenure issues. So the students and faculty activism also saved the dance department, which was at risk of being shut down in the 1970s due to budget cuts. But most recently, students organized in 2019 and successfully pushed for an increase in the minimum wage from $9 to $15 an hour for all student workers. About a third of Juilliard students have signed a petition calling for a tuition freeze. A number of alumni and faculty members have expressed their support for the students' demands. And next we have, can you mix and match COVID-19 vaccines? Can you just put whatever they tell you to put in your body? And can you use expired vaccines? Yeah, just do whatever. But anyway, here's what scientists know. Can you mix and match two-dose COVID-19 vaccines? It's likely safe and effective, but researchers are still gathering data to be sure. The authorized COVID-19 shots around the world are all designed to stimulate your immune system to produce virus-fighting antibodies through the way they do so varies. That's what Dr. Kate O'Brien, Director of World Health Organization Vaccine Unit. But based on the basic principles of how vaccines work, we do think that the mix and match regimens are going to work. We do think. They're not sure, she stated. And the scientists at Oxford University in the United Kingdom are testing combinations of the two-dose COVID-19 vaccines made by AstraZeneca, Moderna, Novavax, and Pfizer BioNTech. Smaller trials are ongoing in Spain and Germany. We really just need to get the evidence in each of these combinations, O'Brien stated. So far, limited data suggests an AstraZeneca shot followed by the Pfizer shot is safe and effective. The combination also appears to come with a slightly higher likelihood of temporary side effects like aches and chills. That might be because mixing and matching different types of vaccine can often produce a stronger immune response. But that's for that news. I personally think if you take herbs and vitamins and eat properly, put the right things into your body, that's what's going to build a stronger immune system. But I am Kim Seabrook. We're going to take a good look in the news, and a little later on, we're going to take a break. You're watching Millennium TV 24.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV. Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
And we're back on Millennium TV 24, and I have a special guest. I know I've been talking about the mayor candidates and things of that nature, and we've been talking a lot about politics over the last few days. But I want to bring someone in, Ms. Tasha Young, a native of Westchester, and she is here to give us some insight on what she's doing with herself and what she's been doing and where she's going for the future. Tasha Young, hey, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. I love the glasses. You know I love glasses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. It's funny because I was going to wear some too, but we did it. All right, good. So Tasha, I came to bring you on because I know that you have done some amazing things, I mean, for quite some time, but you're also just on the move. Right now you're running for Greenburgh Town Supervisor.
Right.
And your position as far as, you know, a job title, you are the Chief of Staff to the Majority Leader of the New York Council. Can you give us some insight on what that position entails?
Certainly, yeah, I'm a full-time candidate right now, but my last role was Chief of Staff for New York City Council Majority Leader. Her name is Lori Cumbo. She's part of the leadership. She's right next to the Speaker, Corey Johnson, and I run her offices. We have several departments within her office: budget, legislation, constituent services, and land use. So those are the departments I oversee, and I'm a very hands-on Chief of Staff, so it's nothing to catch me at a tenant board meeting, a community board meeting, or in the middle of land use discussions and negotiations between the Department of City Planning, community boards, council, and the developers. So that's just a little bit about what I do. I love my job. I love serving the public. And I'm running for office because I want to continue in that vein, but I want to do it in my hometown.
Understood, understood. Yeah, and the chief of staff is a very, very important job. It's like you're there. They don't do anything without you. So
Right.
you're a major part in that. You may play a major position in that role. So
Yes.
what is so last segment? I don't know if you've seen my last show, but the last show I gave a description of what certain positions are when people are running
Right.
for, let's say, comptroller or Bronx
Yes.
Borough president, or the
Yes.
mayor. People don't know. Like we always know, yeah, we're gonna vote for the president, but you still don't even know what a president's job entails because there's so much behind it that they don't inform us on. So, what
Right.
is town supervisor? What is your position? What are you gonna do for your community?
Thank you. So this is the executive level office for the town. The supervisor is like the mayor for the town. The departments within the town, whether they be sanitation, fire, police, the controller's office, the assessor's office that collects the taxes, those are all department heads that are under the supervisor. So the supervisor is really the boss of the departments and the boss of the town. But we also, if elected, I would also have a legislative role. So part of a 5-person board is also the supervisor. So that's quite different from New York City, where you have Mayor de Blasio and his administration, and that's the executive. And he's over the 48 agencies in New York City.
Okay.
And then you have the city council, which is the legislative body, and they have a speaker who's over the whole council, and then the majority leader sits next to him. So Greenberg doesn't have a separation of the two. The supervisor is part of what would be equal to the city council. So it's almost like how the public advocate has a role of both citywide advocate for the people,
Okay.
but also a legislative role where he can propose legislation in the council. That's kind of a hybrid of what the supervisor does in the town of Greenberg. But make no mistake, the buck stops with the supervisor. It is a role of leadership, and it's a role of executive leadership.
Nice. How many people are you running against?
Just myself and the 30-year incumbent trying to break another glass ceiling here.
Ah, okay, okay. And so, I mean, you have a history in social work. You have worked with young women, with domestic violence, and just being there to help uplift women as well. How did what you did in the past is helping you now to what you're running for?
It's so funny because I never thought that I wanted to run for office. I think maybe at 9 or 10 I said I wanted to be president, but that soon went out of my mind. But I never thought I would take this direction, Kim.
Wow.
And it's just a series of saying yes, a series of trying different things that, other people might have not tried to do. Really just being my authentic self, taking the knocks where I had to take them, being corrected where I needed to be corrected, being humble when I needed to be humbled, and not willingly. When you're in management and you're, exploring different careers, you might think you're doing a really good job until someone tells you you're not.
Right.
And you have to take that feedback and apply it and correct yourself to rise up to what the expectation is from both people who report to you, because that happens in management, but also people you report to. So it's a culmination of really being a social worker, seeing government money wasted. I don't know about you, but if you've ever been to some of our congregate care facilities or even, juvenile detention, a lot of money is being funneled in, but then you look around and you see maybe the place is not painted, or
Right.
maybe the furniture is about 25 years old, and you're like, where's the money
Where's
going?
the money going? Right. That's a good question. Where is the money going to a lot of places?
So, just like seeing that for years and years and years, and I thought if I just gave enough of myself to the people, I could really make a difference. And I tried that. I tried that for maybe 10, 12 years. But I discovered the way to really make a broad stroke difference is in policy creation. So it's really a culmination of doing direct care service or volunteer work, feeding people, giving out turkeys, giving out gift cards, helping people go shopping. I've even cleaned people's homes as a volunteer. And then I really realized this is bigger than the individual one-to-one help. This is bigger than not-for-profit. This is bigger than social work. We have to change policy. And then I went through COVID-19 pandemic in New York City. And in New York City, we were really challenged with what can government do to help people through a crisis. That experience made me know I could do this job, and now is the right time to do it. So bringing all of my expertise, all of my network, all of my resources, and all of the people that helped me get here to the position of supervisor to really help Greenburgh be the better town that we can be.
Absolutely. So how is it, not just for being a woman, but a woman of color? How has this whole process been for you? You know, I know it's difficult for us out here, so how is it running in your position? It's difficult, but it's beautiful. Let's get that straight.
You know, I went in knowing I grew up here. I'm from Greenburgh, really from Elmsford, which is within the town. And I think our makeup is about over 70% white within the town, and the rest of the colors make up the other 25 to 30% of population. So I knew this message had to resonate across racial lines. It's not enough to be a woman, and it's not enough to be a Black person or a Black woman to make people want to vote for you. So I really had to learn the issues. I mean, really, and I like policy, so I'm lucky in that aspect because it's a lot of complex detail. You have to be able to, again, be humble enough to ask when you don't understand something. If something you don't have the answer right away, ask people if you can get back to them and then get back to them. So I've been fortunate enough to have the background, but also to really trust people that have been doing this at the citizen level, who are saying, listen, I studied this stuff. We can have a better procurement process. This is what I propose. I say, hey, that's a good idea. I'm going to cite you. You said that, right? Or somebody that says, listen, if we expand the foundation board, they could act as a not-for-profit and bring revenue into the community center. I say, you know what? That just might work. So it's really been a collaboration of my neighbors in Greenburgh that want change. Listening to what they have to say, doing my own research and putting my spin on it, which is a race, diversity, and intersectionality lens, and then talking about policy that we can actually do and actually get it paid for without putting the burden on the taxpayer. When you talk that kind of talk, it doesn't matter what race or gender you are.
Right. Because that, exactly. Exactly. It's only one color. It's only one color when it comes to that. Right.
There you go.
Exactly. What are the major issues in the town of Greenburgh? Is there any, besides, funding or things, as we just said that, what are the major issues that need to be addressed in your town?
Yeah, it's very unaffordable to live here. So even people that are, gainfully employed, 2 incomes or like high income individuals, the taxes are really, really too high. So that's something I have to really study. I think we're being assessed more frequently than other municipalities. So they say, for instance, Yonkers might do an assessment every 5 years on a rolling basis. We're doing it every year on a rolling basis. So people's property are being assessed and the values are going up, but then their taxes go up. And I have to really look at the frequency of that. Also, the contractor that the town hired has an algorithm that makes people have to do something called grieve their taxes. So after the assessment, they're required to pay $300 more.
Wow.
And they're like, that's too much money, or $3,000 or $30,000, right? And they're saying that's too much money. So then they have to, at their own expense, go to the assessor's office. June 15th was grievance day. And they have to say, they have to argue that, they shouldn't pay that much. So I bring that up because that's a big issue. That's a big issue that we hired a contractor that formula created all these problems where the residents, at their own expense, have to go and say you made a mistake. So it's really a management issue. It's a management issue within the town, and that's what I'm running on. I'm running on addressing the management issue. And we're in the middle of $30 million now paying out in avoidable lawsuits. So those things, unaffordability to live here, high taxes, how we deal with contractors, and avoidable lawsuits. Those are all big issues in Greenberg.
Okay. And is it the same date as we're doing our here, June 22nd, to vote for you?
Yes, so we're in early voting. Everybody in Greenberg, please go vote.
Come on, you hear that? You hear that? Let's go. Let's vote for Ms. Tasha Young. She is, I mean, just everything about her, from how she has struggled and stuck with everything that she had to do and pursue her college education. You was a single mom. You went for your master's. Just talk about that. Give us some feedback on your strength, on your backbone, and your background. Let them know who you are.
Whoa. So, yeah, thank you. I did start, my career prior, very young. I started as an assistant manager. I think I was about 25 years old at the Gap. And then I just scraped and clawed my way throughout my career. After my divorce, I re-enrolled in college, and that was my divorce present to graduate from college. So I did do that as a single mother. Me and my daughter and I took chemistry together. When she was in the 9th grade, I was a freshman in college.
Wow.
And after I graduated, I put her through 4 years of school. So she's a graduate of Temple, I'm a graduate of Fordham. And then when she graduated, I went back for my master's.
Nice.
And, it's just, I still have that same kind of energy, Kim. It's like I do a few things at the same time. Because I'm used to working, I'm used to parenting, and I'm used to volunteering, and I'm used to making it happen. So, it's just a muscle that I had to develop. I didn't want to work that hard, but now that I know I could do it, I can't stop. And I want to encourage other people that no matter what, be yourself, because I spent a lot of years not being myself, trying to fit into some box and some expectation that just really wasn't my story. Mm-hmm. So my biggest struggle was seeing my own self instead of being what other people wanted me to be. I was my own worst enemy.
A lot of us are, absolutely. A lot of us are. But it's just when you find that you're no longer your enemy, then that's where the growth starts to happen. And I can see it. I can see the glow in your face now these days. So yes. Unfortunately, time is almost up. But God, there was something I wanted to ask you, Ms. Young. Well, let them know again where to vote for you, where they can find you. If you need assistance, let them know how they can help you, everything like that.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm so proud of you, too. I got to say that.
Thank you.
You are rocking it. And we were an example for young people that they can do it, too. Happy National Puerto Rican Day. That was last Sunday. I missed
I'm ready for Juneteenth. That's what I'm ready for. In Yonkers. I'll be announcing that at the end of the segment. Yes, in Yonkers. That's where I'll be. But yes.
So both.
Yes, absolutely.
So votetasha.com is my website. Please visit. It's VOTETASHA. And there you can find a bunch of pages, my issues. You can find out how to donate. We always need. I'm so proud that the party didn't help us. I didn't think I would be, but they didn't help us. We did this with the people alone. I feel unbossed and I feel unbought. So every donation is from the people. We're people powered. So please donate. We have votetasha.com/volunteer if you want to help us get the word out of this people powered campaign. This will be the first woman and the first person of color in Greenberg's 233-year history.
Yes, let's go. Let's go. Yeah, I hear that, town of Greenberg. Unfortunately, we have to go into a commercial break, but Tasha, it is a pleasure and an honor, and I am putting all that energy out there that you definitely get that position.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Don't forget, Greenberg, vote for Tasha Green. I'm Kim Seabrook. You're watching Millennium TV 24. We'll be right back.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV. Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Back again, that was Ms. Tasha Young of Westchester County running for Greenburgh Town Supervisor. So please, let's go out there and vote if you're in that town. But what do we have next? In Virginia, marijuana legalization timetable has many confused. Virginia's road to legalizing simple possession of marijuana has had some twists and turns. So it's not surprising that advocacy groups have been flooded with calls from people trying to understand exactly what will be allowed under state law as of July 1st. Legislators initially voted in February to legalize possession of up to an ounce of marijuana for adult recreational use, but not until 2024 when retail sales will begin. That is absurd. An outcry ensued over the 3-year wait before ending pot possession penalties. So in April, they voted to move up legalization to this July 1st. Adding to the confusion, lawmakers included a reenactment clause, which means the General Assembly will have to vote again next year on major portions of the law, mainly to establish a regulatory framework for the legal marijuana marketplace. The process has resulted in some contradictions that may not get resolved until years after legalization begins. Senator Adam Ebbin, one of the lead sponsors, said people need to understand the law's limits for now. But possession of up to 1 ounce with no intent to distribute will become legal for adults 21 and older. Adults will also be allowed to grow up to 4 marijuana plants per household, but not much else will change. People still need to be careful. This is not an official open marijuana market, Ebbin said. Virginia is joining 17 other states with laws allowing adults to possess and consume marijuana. In each one, laws have legalized simple possession before establishing a legal marketplace for buying and selling marijuana. And that was stated by Jen Michelle Pendini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Under Virginia's laws, buying and selling marijuana will remain illegal until January 1st, 2024, when retail sales are expected to begin. Smoking marijuana in public also remains against the law. But because marijuana remains illegal at the federal level and because Virginia needs time to stand up the regulatory structure for safe sales, it would not be legal to sell seeds or other marijuana until 2024. People will be allowed to share small amounts of seeds with one another, but they can't sell them. Virginia, just make it legal. Let it go. Let it go. Next, does Joe Biden have an inflation crisis coming? Oh, yes. The overall price increases, which were broad-based, largely came from goods, jumping nearly 1.5% in May. That means everything is going up. Good prices for beef and veal, diesel fuel, gasoline, hay seeds, oil seeds, and motor vehicles increase. Prices for services also leaped 0.6% in May, the 5th consecutive monthly increase. The prices for products increased again last month amid inflation pressures straining the U.S. economy's recovery. The Labor Department reported just Tuesday that its producer price index rose 0.8% last month from 0.6% surge in April. The overall price increases, which were broad-based, largely came from goods, jumping nearly 1.5% in May. Good prices for beef and veal, diesel fuel, gasoline, hay seeds, oil seeds, and motor vehicles have increased, as I stated. So they had leaped from 6% in May, the 5th consecutive monthly increases. The department's reports come from the Consumer Price Index rose that steadily in May, marking the fastest pace of inflation in nearly 13 years. So are Joe Biden and Democrats planning a stimulus check surprise? A stimulus check surprise? Are they planning one? Especially with all the increases going on. 21 senators are now working on a bipartisan infrastructure deal to bring to Joe Biden as negotiations between both sides of the aisle have hit a brick wall for months. The roughly $1 trillion infrastructure promise falls short of Biden's $1.7 trillion infrastructure and jobs proposal, but it's the latest bipartisan push after a spate of failed attempts by Republicans to craft an infrastructure bill. I'm still hoping we can put together the two bookends here, Biden said, as he prepared to leave Geneva after attending a summit overseas. The bipartisan group nearly doubled in size, indicating a boost of energy to strike an infrastructure deal. With 11 Republicans, 10 Democrats part of the effort, the bipartisan proposal could be the first time that the Senate can surpass a 60-vote threshold to pass the bill, as the upper chamber is currently split at a 50-50 margin. The $1 trillion proposal includes roughly $579 billion in new spending, including $110 billion on roads and highways, $66 billion on rail, and $48 billion on public transit. There's also $47 billion set aside for resiliency efforts to help tackle climate change, as well as funding for electric vehicles charging stations. Biden's infrastructure and job plans feature several Democratic priorities that Republicans argue are not related to infrastructure investments. The president's bill, however, omits a large progressive push for a fourth round of recurring stimulus payments that are tied to economic conditions. But the GOP lawmakers continue to firmly oppose additional rounds of stimulus relief, citing the widespread labor shortages that they claim were triggered by the loads of money the federal government sent out during the pandemic. Republicans argue that the stimulus money and unemployment insurance has disincentivized people from returning back to work. With the GOP against additional direct aid and only a handful of Democrats aligned behind the initiative, it's unlikely that the measure would pass. One strategy that the Democrats could use to pass stimulus payments would be by using it as a bargaining chip to trade for a Republican priority. And next, dozens of women sue Pornhub after it allegedly posted non-consensual sex videos. Dozens of women have sued Pornhub, alleging that it was posted and profited from videos depicting sex trafficking, child sexual exploitation, and other non-consensual sexual content. The complaint was filed Thursday, targets Pornhub's parent company, MindGeek, for allegedly being a classic criminal enterprise and allowing the monetization of non-consensual sexual content. Brown Rudnick LLP filed a civil complaint on behalf of 34 victims of sexual exploitation who seeks damages and protection. This is a case about rape, not pornography, the complaint reads, and it is a case about each of these defendants knowingly and intentionally electing to capitalize and profit from the horrendous exploitation of abuse of tens of thousands of other human beings so they can make more than the enormous sums of money they would have otherwise made anyway. The complaint lists just one of the defendants, a woman named Serena Flights, while the other 33 remain anonymous. One of the anonymous plaintiffs told reporters on a conference call that a video posted of her on Pornhub ruined her life and joined the lawsuit to seek justice for herself and the countless other victims who did not come forward. Michael Bowe, the lawyer representing the plaintiffs, told reporters on the same call that the online porn industry operates as an old-school red light district of commerce. Bowe said he thinks rules should apply to the industry and more should be adopted. MindGeek is a major player in the online porn world. The company owns over 100 websites, production companies, and brands including Pornhub, RedTube, Tube8, Xtube, and YouPorn. Also, it was reported while MindGeek owns production companies that create original pornographic content, for years, a majority of the content on Pornhub was uploaded by users who were not verified. Pornhub is also free for anyone who has access to the internet. While Pornhub takes every complaint regarding the abuse of its platform seriously, including those of the plaintiffs in this case, it's rebuffed the allegation that the company was a criminal enterprise. The suit is the latest in a slew of legal actions taken against Pornhub and MindGeek. Visa, MasterCard, and Discover barred their customers from making purchases on Pornhub in December after similar allegations of showing child abuse and non-consensual sexual behavior on the site surfaced. Well, that's just like, this is unfortunately considered entertainment business, just like how they use and strategize on the minorities and Black and brown people to make money. They do the same thing with women in the porn industry and Hollywood. Well, let's move on. We are going to be ending it with Juneteenth. Let's give you some feedback and some insight on what that means. Juneteenth 2021. What is it and how is it that the holiday is celebrated in the U.S.? President Joe Biden has officially made Juneteenth a national holiday in the U.S. Commemorating the end of slavery in the U.S., Juneteenth marks the liberation of enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas. Speaking of the new Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, Biden said, "I've only been president for several months, but I think this will go down for me as one of the greatest honors I will have had as president." Yay. Here we take a look at the history of the event and when and how it is marked across the United States. When is Juneteenth? Every year, Juneteenth is marked on Saturday, June 19th. So what is it? Months after the American Civil War had ended, enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, were told they were free. 2 years prior, Abraham Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation, but it wasn't enforced in Galveston until June 19, 1865, the date on which federal soldiers read it out. The name is a combination of the words June and 19th. So how is it marked? Various celebrations take place across the states, yes they do, with parades, gatherings, and games. People also mark the occasion with readings, singing, church services, and reflection. Is Juneteenth a national holiday? So on Thursday, as I stated earlier, June 17th, Joe Biden signed a bill into law, which means Juneteenth is now an official recognized holiday in the United States. But there may have been some mixed reactions to the news. Actor D.L. Hughley told us that whilst he embraced the idea of Juneteenth officially being recognized, Black people had asked for justice, and what they got was a holiday. He likened it to receiving the wrong order, saying although you want to keep it, you still want the original item you purchased. And Gwen Grant, president and CEO, also stated, "It's great, but it's not enough." She added, "We needed Congress to protect voting rights, and that needs to happen right now so we don't regress any further. That is the most important thing Congress can be addressing at this time." And reparations. That's what we want, reparations. But what's going on this weekend in New York? I have an event in Brooklyn that I will tell you about, and then something in Yonkers. So on Juneteenth, this Saturday, Brooklyn, we have the Block Association, Corey K., and In Good Company presents the FAM reunion, which highlights fashion, art, and music. There will be food, vendors, games, live music. Indoor and outdoor seating will be available from noon to 6 p.m. with an after party, and that is held at the Dorset, 677 Washington Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. Again, Saturday, the Dorset, 677 Washington Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. And next, but definitely not least, we have Yonkers. It's going to be a full weekend. What I want you guys to do, if you're in New York, I want you to head to Trevor Park Saturday. Saturday is going to be a kickboard tournament. You're going to have a DMX tribute, rest in peace to Darryl Simmons. Then we're going to have a youth talent and award show. There's also going to be a basketball workshop. But on Sunday is the one and only Juneteenth summer stage celebration, where we have music, food, vendors, performances by yours truly. 2 p.m. they will open. They will have an open mic. 4 p.m. is the main stage. After that, we have raffles and a live band. And thank you to the Yonkers African American Heritage Committee for putting this together. Tom Ray for being the host for several years and making all of this happen as well, bringing the artists together and the community together. It is going to be a beautiful thing, celebrating Juneteenth this weekend. I hear the weather's going to be nice as well. So we're about to close out. I'm going to end this show for you and the news. And I appreciate you for taking the time to watch us. You can watch us on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon. Download the apps on your Android and your iPhones and your smart TVs. You can watch us now on YouTube and Facebook Live and all these other platforms. Wherever you got, you can watch us. So stay tuned for next time. I'm Kim Seabrook. You're watching Millennium TV 24. And you guys have a great night.